know what everyone says about you? They say that you're a homeschooled jungle freak who's a less hot version of me. Yeah, so don't try to act so innocent. You can take that fake apology and shove it right up your hairy...
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Jamsys, back at it again with some RTA content. Speaking of content, there was a new bounce patch that just dropped, the one with Lilias, bikeguy, and like a bunch of other ones that nobody cares about, except for Laika. We'll get to her later, but anyway, you all know that I am a devout Conquer Lilias enjoyer, so I obviously had to test her out because a lot of people were saying that Lilias is going to kill off like Lua and conquer Lilias, and I'm just gonna offer some of my thoughts on that. My opponent first picks Flitica here, and Flitica is one of the units that really benefited from this patch because she eats up snails, and since there's a lot of things discouraging faster openers that press buttons, naturally Flitica pretty much fits in because she doesn't have a non-attack skill and she provides a lot of utility. Anyway, judging by their pre-bans, I had a feeling that they're not going to race me, which is why I picked Sunny so comfortably here. And yeah, they obviously pick Lilias, and they pick a speed imprint, which I found pretty surprising. If you didn't know, Lilias got changed so that her S2 is now like an automatic skill, like Paul's S2, as long as your opponent uses a non-attack skill. I pick Mid here to threaten more speed, and I pick APOC, just as an anchor, just in case. And people are saying that Lilias kills a lot of these non-attack openers like Mid. She counters Lua with more artifact and Conquer Lilias, or they're gonna force people to put Conquer Lilias on immunity. But I just don't think that's true, and some of the reasons is that Lilias is like bunny dumb in a sense, where sure in her like one specific niche in like paper it's really good. I also end up just banning Flitica here because I'm like pretty confident that even like APOC and Bryceria can solo SSV with a defense break. But yeah, Lilias' issue is that she gives up a lot of tempo. Sure, her S2 is nice, but see, Lilias' S3 strip plus attack buff is already a lot to deal with. And you're gonna see that it's not like a perfect counter because Lilias has a lot of stats that she needs. She literally wants all stats except for attack. And there's just no way you can have everything because you need speed to like cut. But you also need effectiveness, but you also like ideally want some sort of ER so she doesn't get CC'd. And look at that. Yes, I did that. She gets countered by my, I want to say it's attack, but it's on the lower end of popularity for Champions Trophy. But since Lilias is so stat hungry, this Lilias can't be ER plus whatever. So this Lilias just ends up being CC'd. Aiden gets death broken by Camilla. I'm pretty much have to accept that my APOC's about to die here. And so I just rip the S3 onto Sylvan Sage Rivian to help soften her up for the later attacks. Sylvan Sage Rivian is able to go, and the lace is cut. But yeah, like this isn't like the best showcase, but it's like it just like highlights how even in her like designed quote-unquote role of countering like Lua and C Lilias, it's not perfect. There's artifact RNG. C Lilias can be run on immunity set, not mine though, because that would require me it would require me rolling 2 24 speed immunity pieces, and that shit's just not happening. So yeah. But like a list of other units she dies to is Operator Cigarette, DJB, Ida, literally any mid-speed unit, especially Laika. Laika is like the it girl of this patch. Like you pick it 4-5 against any like turn 2 player and they're forced to ban it because Ignore ER, guarantee delete 1 unit. Kind of busted. But what can you do? SG really needed the money or something. Anyway, if you like my content, please like, subscribe, join my Discord. We have fun emotes. And a lot of the members just bully me for some reason. Who knows? Anyway, moving on to the next match. We're up against Lilias? Lilias? Bro, like these names are too hard. Anyway, there's someone who recently joined my guild recently, so like obviously I have to show them the balanced nature of my Conquer Lilias. They pick up a bunch of anti-C Lilias techs like Lionheart plus Lilias. It's really good because if you press S3 on Lilias, then she's forced to dual attack after all the bullshit, and then Lionheart procs and maybe Lionheart kills the entire team or whatever. But yeah, I really want to say that there's a few it girls of the patch, and ironically C Lilias is one of them. Due to Laika being so strong, she just does everything, and like if we're being honest, Lilias is not the answer people were looking for. Who else? There's also like there's a few other ones, like oh yeah, Operator Secret, because people are seemingly really enjoying bikeguy, and since bikeguy puts up free barriers for everybody, that's like free targets for Operator Secret to kill. Not to mention there's also Karinas running around, which also put up barriers that, you know, they love to kill. My opponent last picked Designer a little bit, which is like kind of overkill in my opinion, so there's no point in banning Designer a little bit or Lilias because they both fill the same niche. So I should either ban Lionheart or I should ban A-Mid. And I end up banning A-Mid just in case I end up in a situation where I need to not press buttons. This Lilias is on an interesting tech of Bastion of Perlucia, and I'm like thinking really hard here because if I fuck up, I lose. But again, I didn't need to think that hard. I could either dual attack into AOL like I do here, or I can S2 into Lilias and then just give her the barrier. And since this AOL looks really swishy and like my S1 did that much damage on my pretty busted opposite, like busted as in like bad, so I S2 kill her off and then just push everything back. Hopefully, like maybe not this Lionheart, but my other units cut, so it's fine. Yeah, the Lionheart does resist everything, but it should be okay. As soon as I kill this Lionheart, this team is pretty much donezo, because I don't think Designer a little bit can actually kill Aiden unless she gets really lucky. And then there's still like, you know, Steny and Opsig to get through. But yeah, to people saying that Lilias countered Lua, she doesn't do that perfectly either, because again, yes, in a vacuum, like she undoes everything Lua does, but she still has a few key issues of giving up too much tempo, because Lua still gives her team speed buff. She can hold it. She can just death break on S1 and then something dies. So, but yeah. The meta has taken a very interesting turn where it's like hyper aggression versus hyper tank. Except I would say unless your account is named like Kotick or someone in Legend, tanking down is going to be very difficult for you. Because like if people 4-5 Strays, C Pavel, Laika or Opsig, like what do you do? Especially if you're on speed contesting, like literally what do you do? But yeah, whatever. I also noticed me getting roped by my opponent because they were thinking really hard about their bans or whatever. Whatever, it's fine. Like, it happens. Sometimes I forget to press select too because, you know, cleavering. I pick one of the only safe openers, quote unquote safe openers lately, which is Flitica. I also pick hand guy because, you know, hand guy is like pretty good in standard. And then my opponent picks AOL, and it makes sense because if it threatens the ban onto hand guy, and then I'm still weak to the same stuff. I pick Sylvan Sage Rivian plus Landy. They're not too great into AOL. In fact, they're kind of terrible, but like I kind of don't have any choice because I need good steady killers, and I can't really commit to like, you know, strays or sea Pavel right here, just because of like I picked hand guy, so I don't have like that many speed openers. I honestly could have picked
Oh my god, what is that?
Amid and it would have been fine. My opponent last pick cooks the Cerise, and I'm like, oh, this is a unit that I haven't seen in a while. But you will see that this Cerise, there's a reason people don't pick Cerise, even though she has like the same base speed as Conquer Lilias. And you're about to see why. She's on Guiding Light, which is like great job for her. But guess what? My Politica is on Guiding Light too, and my Landy, and stunning anyone else on my team doesn't really do much.
So
I go for the soul burn here onto Maid Chloe, just because I don't want her to do any of her annoying S3 res stuff. It lowers the DPS potential of all her teammates. I'm free to here now to press S3, and notice how I still have skill null because Cerise doesn't put unbuffable on. She only puts speed down or strict. And those are kind of dated debuffs. They go for the S1, pop the skill null onto Sylvan Sage Rivian. Doesn't matter, this Stanny's dead as hell. My Landy didn't Guiding Light because, you know, why would she? Like plus 30 for what? We're able to go and press our Sylvan Sage Rivian skills here. Stanny explodes. And honestly, if I had max imprints on Landy, I think this Lone Crescent Bellona would have died too. This Bellona like goes into my Landy too, except I guess this is a tankier Bellona. Like, oh, Bellona didn't have any buffs, so her S3 does less damage. I was like, my Landy's paper, why didn't it kill? Doesn't matter though, we're just able to continue ramming our skills into my opponent. They were trying something fun or an off meta pick, and obviously I had to punish that because it's RTA, and RTA is not the place to be if you're trying to have fun. Which is fine. Sylvan Sage Rivian is more than able to clean up from here, and it's Cerise left by herself, and she loses. It's okay. It's her punishment for bringing Guiding Light, that cursed artifact, into Epic 7. What can you do? But yeah, if you were looking to try out new units for aggressive players, I would recommend, you know, like Conquer Lilias. Laika, I recently had to pull her just because she looked like a must pull. And Operator Secret / Strays, since we're going back into like tank down territory with bikeguy. But yeah, that's basically it. If you were expecting Lilias to counter C Lilias, just know that she does not. Anyway, my opponent goes for the It Girl pick of the patch with Politica, so obviously I have to be there to hammer it down with my own Conquer Lilias. And Stenny. Again, I only picked Stenny here because my opponent's pre-bans made it seem like they didn't like aggressive play, so I have to punish that with some aggressive play, you know? We now just wait for where my opponent wants to go. As long as they don't pick like 5 speed imprints, like I should be fine here. They pick Lilias, so we're able to continue demonstrating how Lilias does not counter C Lilias. Like, this is like more than doubled if you account for the, what's it called? The people that are able to build a fast C Lilias on immunity. Like, that is not me, unfortunately. But what can you do when you're already like nearly 310 speed at that point? It's like my same justification of like not running Laika on Guiding Light at that point, because like, what's the point? She's gonna outspeed most things anyway. And I guess it does allow you to tank more hits no, or not tank more hits, but like survive more because you have that stealth. But honestly, better use somewhere else. My opponent last picks Lone Crescent Bologna, which is like, you know, again, like I filmed for like 3 hours and people kept picking her into me, except my drafts don't look very, je ne sais quoi, what's the thing called? Don't look very Lone Crescent Bologna Bowl. Like I don't pick Senya or Karina, so I'm not too sure what they were going for. They also pick what's this girl's ML Laika here, and I obviously have to punish that with Acid. Like if you have a freak 310 Laika, sure, but Acid on average should outspeed most ML Laikas, and they go for the ban onto DJB, which I found kind of strange. But you know, like if I were them, I would probably ban the Acid to protect my ML Laika. But I guess they were predicting me to like ban ML Laika and they wanted the best chance from there. But no, I am a freak behavior. Aggro monkey slam. Yeah, ML Laika gets deleted. Bunny Dom gets to go, but thanks to Politis' innate CR cut, she's actually not able to cut, or like Lone Crescent Bologna is not able to cut. And we actually get an Abyssal Crown stun too. And that's what I mean. Like Lilias needs too many stats. She wants HP, she wants bulk, speed, ER, effectiveness, and crit damage, and crit rate. And that's just not something that's feasible for most players. So tragic. Lone Crescent Bologna gets eviscerated by a Steny S3. And yeah, see what I mean? 2 Lilias counter units that did nothing to stop Lilias from what she was meant to do. If I really wanted to, I could honestly have S1'd into ML Laika and 2 out of 3 of my pulls would have killed her too. So that would have been like very unfortunate for my opponent. Either way. Moving on to the next match though. I gotta say that I do like where the meta is heading now, where it's a lot, with some exceptions. I will say that my account is really weak to Clilias being picked against it for the time being. Like I do plan to regear Pera, but other than that, Clilias is just a very overwhelming pick for aggro players, and me not being able to deal with that effectively is a weakness in my draft, especially since I can't gear another opener to like 310 speed, so that kind of sucks. But what can you do? I'm basically getting what I do to my opponents done back to me, where they pick Lilias Steny and go from there. I'm kind of afraid that they're going to pick a lot of cleave oriented units, so I'm hoping that they tank down, and luckily they do, and they pick in a way where I'm able to pick Landy and I'm able to pick Sylvan Sage Vivian here freely, because Yolha doesn't really threaten either of these too well, but they definitely threaten Steny. And I obviously have a bunch of aggressive options with the CR push on either of my openers that I can be pretty liberal in abusing. They pick Bryce Area here, which is a pretty good pick, because if I pick like Edward last, I can just ban it, or just it dies to Yolha. They pick a Rimuru here, which is also a good pick into me. And so at this point, I'm looking for something that has reach and that can CC for Bryce Area, even though it's most likely going to get banned. And that pick for me is Ida. And I have 2 bans here. I either ban the Lilias or I ban Rimuru and hope Amit gets let through. I ban Lilias and hope Amit gets through, or I ban Rimuru and pray only one of my 2 Soul Weavers gets banned. My opponent though goes for like the most reserve play and bans Ida, which is pretty understandable. I was pretty confident that my DJB could resist the Lilias at like 230, 240 ER, So I changed it to the HP imprint, but that turns out to be a mistake because you saw the effectiveness artifact on this Lilias, so this is not gonna end too well. We're able to get debuffed by literally everything. It's not too surprising for Amid because she's not on 0 ER, but I picked her like she was, so that's like the general threat. DJB gets pushed back, and so I go for a very interesting play here. If you didn't know, Vigor counts as a buff for Landy's S3, so I thought I was doing a big brain play here. I actually decided to cleanse DJB and then go for the push up onto DJB, and I had a very specific reason. I thought that if I took off the barriers, Landy would be able to soul burn an S3 twice, but if you notice, this Bryce area is on guiding light, so there's literally no reason for me to do this. I'm literally losing damage because this attack and C damage buff could have been on Landy instead. And since guiding light makes it so that the buffs on the board are 5, Landy's only able to get 1 S3 off, and since we don't have attack or C damage buff, we're kind of fucked in that department as well. I also go for the S1, hoping that maybe it does enough damage with the Aureus or whatever, and I just slam Sage Vivian's S3, and this is winnable only if Stenny dies here. But thanks to Vigor and Aureus, we kind of just lose. Like, my lane didn't guiding light, but Bryce area would have just stripped it anyway, and then it would have died to Stenny. You can see my tilted clicking here from getting Cleave Brain Diffed, but what can you do? We live and you learn. You live and you learn. Yeah. Imagine having a university degree in science and not being able to count to 5. Like, me too, guys. Me too. Water drinking ASMR. But anyways, yeah, this is a lot of the showcase of Lilias not being the meta breaker she was, just because on paper she sounded like she had everything, but I think that the gear required of her to fulfill such a niche is out of reach for most players, or like I don't even know if it's mathematically possible. Anyways, it's just like it's not it. And in the final match of the video, my opponent goes for the new boys on the block, or the old boys back on the block, I guess, because they still existed. We get bikeguy and we also get Tywin here, just because they're both very I would say bikeguy is a lot better for most people. I think Tywin is best in these like solo carry situations where you put like Archstream and Mercedes or Bellion in the back, or like any like 1v4 carry, and you just have them solo carry the show, and that's where they get most of the value. And they also pick Elena just because my team has a lot of AoE attacking skills, and I was contemplating tanking down with like DDR and APOC here, but that's kind of boring, so I decide to go for Strays. And I also go for I was thinking Ida, but no, I was thinking about Strays, but I thought the bridging might be awkward, especially if this whole team is on immunity. So I take the safer route and go for Ida. My opponent last picks BBK. I'm like assuming this BBK is ER. And if you didn't notice, my opponent picked no damage dealers in the first 3 picks, and my only ignore ER stripper is Opsig if they have barriers. So I ban BBK, they ban Opsig, the bans like even out, and we win because we have damage way before their damage goes. This Lilias is on immunity set, so I can't really do much about her, but it's fine since we have Ida to cut. And this is what I mean by like Lilias doesn't do enough. Lilias gets stunned again by Champions Trophy. It happened a few times in the play testing for this video, so that's pretty funny. Champions Trophy best in slot for C Lilias. Come on, guys. You already saw how I hacked not hacked, scammed Kana of a win. I go for the S2 here, even though I knew Elena was going to push just because the CR manipulation was that crazy for my team. We do a lot of AoE damage, even through the barrier, so it's basically showing you that even bikeguy is about to get overwhelmed by this team. And once bikeguy is out of the picture, I think we should be fine because, you know, it's just like the tywin can't defense break anymore, damage Elena, Omega lol, and we only have a solo fire Lilias off of Elena's attack, which I don't think is going to be that scary. And yeah, my opponent does decide to tap out here, which is pretty understandable. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for coming to the Better Lilias showcase, and as always, I'll catch you next time.